From her downtown Richmond, VA studios, it's Community Chat with Dr. Cat, the fastest growing digital talk show discussing solutions for everyday people with everyday problems. Hit us up with your comments at drcatford.com. Now, here's your host, Dr. Cat Ford.
Hello, welcome. This is Community Chat with Dr. Cat. I am Dr. Cat. I'm here today with my intelligent, beautiful panel of guests. We're talking about mental health in our community. We spoke about education in the schools, but right now we're going to talk about mental health and how it's plaguing our community. I have my guest, my professional expert guest here, Ms. Latoya Williams, who is a school counselor, but also worked in the mental health field, working in the super urban communities. Also here to my right, I have Ms. Katava Burton, who works in education. She also worked in community mental health, but she's also an expert in training for trauma. And so, ladies, I read and was reading about the CDC, and they said that their latest report showed that African American males between the ages of 16 and 26 have the highest actual suicide rate, and that bothered me tremendously. And from a personal note, I had one of my friends whose son, 22, had committed suicide, and then after I investigated and looked, I saw that was very prevalent. And, you know, as a former therapist and just understanding the genetic makeup of African Americans, that was just very alarming to me, because normally that wasn't something we do. But then when you really looked at the depressive symptoms and the symptomology, along with all the microaggressions that African Americans endure, you know, you kind of see why. So why that rate is so high. So can you tell me and tell the audience, what do you see as far as the mental health combating? Because I know you deal with the families, students, everything. What do you see as far as an issue with the mental health in the community?
That they don't know the resources.
Okay.
And that drugs is really going through these communities, and a lot of our kids have no idea what they're taking and what it's doing to their bodies and their brains.
Okay. Do you think what the increased number of drugs is it because of influence from home, or is it, you know, definitely the hip hop culture, you know, definitely glorifies getting high, popping pills, mollies, and all that, syrup and all the other type of things. But is that a driving force as far as them taking drugs? Is it trying to cope with something?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, I totally agree.
What are some of the things you see the kids trying to cope with?
Well, with depression, going home to, you know, a single parent home with mom that is on drugs, or the students would say getting high, a dad that's in and out, maybe beating on mom, or just students fending for themselves or incarcerated. So it's a lot that they're dealing with, and a lot of them, they use those as coping mechanisms, and they have no idea what's in the blunts that they're smoking, or the mollies, or a lot of these other things that they're doing.
So, and I remember kids taking on adult roles.
Absolutely.
And taking on adult stressors and not able to be a kid. And so again, and I guess that's definitely that underlying anxiety, depression that we have kids experience. What do you see, Ms. Burton? Because you train a lot of people to recognize certain behaviors. What do you see as far as mental health in the community?
Right. Well, everything you just said, Ms. Williams, were forms of trauma. So going home to a parent who uses
trauma queen,
a substance, or has a mental illness, or seeing domestic violence. So naturally, you cope, through however works for you, and usually it's an addiction, whether it's alcohol, drugs. And so and then here in this area, the opioid crisis has increased. So now we have fentanyl, which is about 100 times stronger than heroin and 50 times stronger than morphine. I might have them mixed up. And so usually every holiday season, Christmas, Thanksgiving, spring break, parents are notorious for overdosing, and oftentimes kids see it, so you're traumatized again, so you're seeing someone die in front of you. And then secondly, I would just say just a stigma associated with black people getting help, you're crazy. And so one of the things that we need to just say it's okay to not be okay, and there's nothing wrong with seeing a therapist.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the key things that I also noticed too in the community it's a cycle. When I was doing therapy, I noticed that there was a cycle of abuse and a cycle of undiagnosed mental health, or if someone was diagnosed with mental health, that was just, oh, that's my crazy aunt. Well, your aunt is schizophrenic, and your aunt's schizophrenic. Some of that was maybe possibly because of drugs. Other is just in the blood, and schizophrenic is one of those drugs one of those behaviors that is genetic. Even bipolar is genetic. Major depressive disorder, a lot of that's genetic, and it's genetic not just because they just born crazy. Sometimes that has to do with the chemical balance in the brain, and so definitely being aware. I agree with you all, ladies. I've seen the same thing. There's people, they'll know something is wrong, but they don't want to get help because they don't want to have a stigma. They don't want to seem weak. But you have no problem receiving services like food stamps and getting assisted with that, but then you won't get assistance or get help. Well, ladies, it's been great. We're getting ready to take a break from our, this is a great conversation, and we're going to stop for a moment and hear from our sponsors. This is Community Chat with Dr. Cat.
You're listening to Community Chat with Dr. Cat, sponsored by
Marion Marketing Global. You know those guys over at Marion Marketing Global? They can do everything from billboards to bus signs. Marion Marketing Global, changing the world and expanding your brand every day, each day. Marion Marketing Global, 804-938-5218. Check us out on the web at marionmarketingglobal.com.
This is Tanya Free, inviting you to join the conversation at TanyaFree.com, your destination for the best in social and political straight talk, 24/7. Keep up with the latest news, answer my question of the week, post your comments, and weigh in on the hottest topics of the day and the issues affecting our community. Live life with a purpose. Join the conversation today at TanyaFree.com, your destination for social and political straight talk.
Welcome back. This is Community Chat with Dr. Cat. I am Dr. Cat Ford, your host, here with my expert panel guests, Ms. Latoya Williams, Ms. Kataba Burton. And we're talking about mental health in the community. And ladies, I mentioned the fact about that CDC report, which is real disturbing to me. And for people who are listening and people who are watching, we love all of our babies, but we cannot have our male babies walking around here, our male husbands, grandfathers, uncles, nephews. We can't have them walking around here feeling unloved, unwanted, regardless of what the media says, regardless of what the police officers do, regardless of what our president says or don't say directly or indirectly. What is it that we can do to help boost up the self-esteem, help instill self-worth? Because in order for you to commit suicide or put yourself in situations where that you're gonna die, or you're gonna have, you're gonna be severely ill, what is that you all would say we can do as a community to help establish self-worth, sense of help? What is it that we can do? What do you think, Ms.
Well, I would say we need to make sure that those resources are readily available and somewhere where they can see it. They need it on billboard signs, anywhere that the students would be able to look at it, or parents. Let them know that they can go into a church, neighborhood churches. A lot of, the urban schools, they're surrounded by churches, and the churches have resources that can assist them.
Okay, a church, billboard, that's a good idea. Community, and what was that other program you said? Communities and schools. And I think the local community service board, everybody's county have some type of mental health or whatever service board that usually offers the services too. What do you suggest too, Ms. Burton, as far as?
I would definitely say mentoring. I know that a lot of school districts have mentoring programs, and they do, match a young male or female with someone who's comparable to them. And oftentimes there are really good outcomes with that. So having that mentor, someone to see them every week and address behavior in school, and academics and things like that. Of course, I mentioned NAMI, so finding resources there.
And NAMI stands for?
The National Alliance for Mental Illness.
Okay.
The Richmond chapter. And I would just say, as far as community, oftentimes when things happen like Ferguson and black men are feeling I guess, unworthy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of restorative practices, and that's just a way to address any type of harm that has happened.
Okay,
So
restorative
right,
practices,
Right. So
okay.
it could be a fight. It could
Okay.
be something huge like a community. So I am able to facilitate circles and conferences to restore the harm that was caused
Okay.
by a community or two people or a group of people. So
Okay.
and it's supported and evidence based. So
Okay.
I would definitely say that as well.
So they can look, if someone's having a severe issue, like in one of our schools, they had a situation where kids were acting out sex acts on some other males and some football players. A restorative practice. That's something that you can come. They can call Miss Burton and come in and help restore the
Well,
trust.
there was a murder in the community,
Oh,
and
okay.
and people want to vent or they need to just express themselves.
Okay.
And so it can be used for that as well.
And it is helpful because unfortunately I had the unfortunate, it was a great experience for me, but it was unfortunate when we had children that passed away. Well, they weren't passed away, they were shot, murdered, or killed. When we had those circles and the kids felt comfortable to vent, they had a lot to say, and a lot came out. Not just my friend is gone, or this, my cousin was killed last week, my dad's incarcerated, my mom's on drugs. It was all that other stuff that came out with that as well. So that's a very good practice. And for people out there listening, a mentoring, because you mentioned mentoring, and I think community schools I know had something similar to like a mentoring program. Mentoring helps just provide another layer of support.
Yes.
And people, it doesn't take anything to mentor children. We have all these different organizations. We have these Black Greek letter organizations. We have churches. You got 5011 groups in the church: the women's group, the man's group, the grandparents group, the choir, the man's choir, the male choir, the extra choir. In all these groups, it does not take anything for you to just step outside the community, even if you have people alternate. Hey, we're going to come visit these kids once a month, or this group will come. We have somebody come in and mentor, and it doesn't cost anything but time. So when all these times we see people say they want to help the community, because right now it's dire straits. It's not just our urban children, our urban babies that are suffering. It's our kids with two parents. It's our where dad and mom both are there, and you're well off, and you have the resources, but yet you still feel unworthy. Yet you still feel like life is so bad that you have to take your life. I mean, there is, if people don't know, it is a crisis going on in our community. Ms. Burton just mentioned the fact that in Ferguson has the highest number of missing African American males. And in one part of Central Virginia, you have missing males. And I'm sitting here not trying to be funny, but like with that movie Get Out that came out, I'm like, why haven't we heard this about our males are missing? We saw that our African American females were missing, and especially up and down like the DC area and even here in Central Virginia. And of course we can attribute that unfortunately to possible sex
And
trade
human trafficking.
and human trafficking. But with our males, I never heard about that. So it's again, we need something out here, whatever's drawing our males to something, whether it's drugs, whether it's free sex. We have to be vigilant as a community and provide these resources. Anything else that you thinking of that can actually help too? Because I know a lot of times they dump a lot on you every day on an ongoing basis. What about social media? Any type of social media? Because I know the kids use social media a lot. Providing something positive
Yes.
out there.
We need to have something out there so that they can see it, something that they're on all the time. I mean, right now they're looking at their president on Twitter just saying a lot of things, and if we just had some positive people saying or speaking some things into their lives, because they really need a positive role model in schools. We're taught to teach the kids, and they're teaching all the time, and we're teaching to prepare them for tests, but we got to teach them for this real world that they're headed. As soon as they leave us, they're in a whole nother atmosphere that none of us have a clue what's going on.
Because it's like the Walking Dead. It's like walking depression. I mean, I can actually say that in certain urban schools that I've been in, and there's been several. It's like it's like the Walking Dead. It's a breeding depression. Same thing with you as far as the social media. I mean, people put out some positive things for these
Yes.
kids. Somebody, we love you. You know, boo boo, I love you. You know, you my bae for the day. You know, something to make them feel encouraged. Well, ladies, I thank you all so much. Family, you can always get this information, get their contact from www.drcatford.com. You can hit me up on Twitter at drford.com, Twitter, and then Facebook for the old people. Peace.
The opinions, beliefs, and viewpoints expressed by the various forum participants on this show do not necessarily reflect the opinion, beliefs, and viewpoints of Dr. Cat Ford or this station.